Topic 9, Lesson 6, Common Factors and Greatest Common Factor. You're going to determine common factors and the greatest common factor of numbers today. Okay, look at the top of page 232 and have your notebooks ready. We are going to look at a story problem that would relate to how you would use this in real life. Okay, so how can you find the greatest common factor? A pet store has goldfish and angelfish that have to be put into the fewest number of glass containers. So I'm going to underline that or circle that. Fewest number of glass containers. Each container must contain the same number of fish, and each must contain all the goldfish or all angelfish. So notice they didn't put any numbers in the story problem, but the numbers are right here. 30 goldfish, 20 angelfish. Okay, and it says the fewest number of glass containers, but each container must contain the same number of fish. So if you look at on the bottom here, well, it's on the next page for you, it says find the greatest common factor, or GCF, of 20 and 30. So we know what factors are, and if they're common factors, that means it's a factor they have in common. Okay, and the greatest will be the biggest or the largest factor that they have in common. So 20 and 30, let's see, the greatest common factor of 20 and 30 to find the greatest number of fish that could be put into each container, because the more that we have in a container, the less containers we will use, and it says the fewest number of containers. All right, so if a number, these are just some vocabulary words that are important for this lesson. If a number is a factor of two numbers, it is called a common factor. The greatest common factor of two numbers is the greatest number that is a factor of both numbers, which is what I mentioned already. So every single number, they all have something in common. One is always a common factor, but most of the time they have other factors in common. So let's look at what they did here. Okay, I'm seeing to find the greatest common factor of 20, 30, you list out all the factors and circle the ones that are they have in common. So 20 and 30, if you remember, we did the rainbow where we went 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. And here we have 1 and 30. I'm just doing it underneath. 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. So those are all the factors. If you remember, we started with the greatest and the least, so 1 and itself. Okay, so obviously they circled what they have in common. 1, 2, 5, and 10. Those are all the factors they have in common. However, the greatest common factor would be 10, because that's obviously the greatest one, the biggest one that they have in common. So the store can put 10 fish in each container. So let's apply that to some of our problems below. Before we do that, just real quick, another example of a way you can find greatest common factors. If you don't know all the factors, this is another way that could be faster for you. So here they show steps 1 through 4 of what you could do. So if you remember the prime factorization trees, where we took, well, basically made trees, found 2 factors of each number, okay, and then broke it down until you got all the prime factors. Okay, so here they have them listed out. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, 2 times 3 times 3. Okay, well, in step 3, it says circle the prime factors that both numbers share. So they both share 2 and 2, and they both share 3 and 3. So if you want to find the common factor, you just multiply the common factors, or the two numbers that they share, the 2 prime numbers they share. So they share 2 and 3. If you multiply those together, I know that the greatest common factor would be 6. Okay, so that's another way to do it. If you want to rewatch that and see if that helps at all, or get help from somebody else, or from me when I'm not busy with another group, we can talk about this method or strategy. Otherwise, you can just list out the factors like we did earlier. All right, let's do this. Number 1 on page 232, 9 and 12. So I need to find factors for 9 and 12, the greatest common factors. I'm just going to line them up here. Actually, I guess I could, well, that's all right. I'll just do this. So I'll say 1 and 9. Okay, and then I know 3 times 3 is 9. So that's really all I left enough space there. So obviously only 1, 3, and 9, and this is itself. Okay, 12, we've got 1 and 12. And then we have 2 and 6, right? And then we have 3 would be the next one, and 4. So I can match those up. All right, so factors they have in common are 1, and it looks like 3. So those would be the only common factors, right? I believe so. So the greatest common factor then would be 3, okay, because that's the greatest one. All right, let's look at number 2, 20 and 45. This one will take a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to list out all the factors for 20 and 45. We've got 1 and 20. We've got 2 and 10. Okay, and then I know 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, and then for 45, I've got 1 and 45. The next one would be 2, and, well, there is nothing that goes with 2, so I better erase that, because that does not work. Messed that one up. Okay, but I know 3 does. 3 and 15 makes 45. Okay, and then also the common one, 9 and 5, so 5 times 9. And if I'm missing one, please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, but I see one, they have 1 in common, not 2, not 3, not 4, but they have 5 in common. So that would be the greatest common factor then. So it'll be 5. Okay, all right, so hopefully you get the idea, and finish 1 through 6. And then figure out from my assignment on the board what numbers you need to do next. All right, do your best, good luck, and remember to list all the factors.